Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I always get paranoid when I say things like this, so I'm gonna get paranoid again. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of defense, not necessarily overall champions, but in terms of defense, the champion that I still hate fighting at the top of the list, top 5, people I just don't like to see, especially when you can't parry and heavy, depending on the nodes, depending on the season of Battlegrounds, is the truly annoying, truly mind-numbing, truly heart-wrenching, if there is such a thing, the man, the myth, the legend, Nightcrawler. And I realize that he is even more of a pest, in some ways, unawakened. So he's not who you would normally think of to get a buff. But not all heroes wear capes. And we have a summoner, a couple of them actually, on the channel who love to make buff concepts. And we're going to talk about Yak of Rocks. Yak of Rocks. Because he has sent over another Nightcrawler buff concept today. You might recall we talked about a Gwenpool buff concept recently from him as well on the channel. Now, he has spent time taking somebody who's already solid and making them better, and we've seen that in even a bigger example, say with a Nebula buff or certainly a Human Torch buff, which shocked everybody. It's like, oh, he's getting a little bit of a tune-up, really? And now maybe Kabam regrets it. I don't know. You never know with them and their brains. But Nightcrawler by default starts the fight in I'm just gonna say Nay mode. It's probably Nayafim, but Nay is easier and shorter. But can choose to start in swashbuckling mode in the pre-fight menu. Nightcrawler switches between modes by double tapping the block button. Striking the block of an armored opponent makes Nightcrawler's modes to go on cooldown for 3 seconds, plus 2 seconds for every armor effect on the opponent, max 25 seconds. While dashing back, Nightcrawler cannot be hit. Ooh. If the Dexterity Mastery is active, it is replaced by a permanent Cruelty passive, granting 25 critical damage rating per point in the Dexterity Mastery, max dex 60. Now, we have discussed on this channel for years the idea of masteries playing more into abilities. I am not a coder, thankfully, and so I don't know how possible that even is to do, because sometimes, you can think of something and then they say, yeah, it's not going to happen. But that's a fascinating concept. Nightcrawler's critical hits have a 70% chance to inflict an instant bleed, dealing 50% of his current attack rating. Well, it's 50% of his current attack rating. You could melt some fools real fast with a high-ranking Nightcrawler. Alright, so in Nay mode, Nightcrawler has a 25% chance to evade all incoming attacks. As an attacker, this evade does not trigger while Nightcrawler is blocking a basic attack, so forget the parry evade issues that we saw originally with OG Spider-Man. If Nightcrawler is attacked while suffering from a bleed, disorient, sabotage, or root effect, he has a 100% chance to remove the effect and evade. Well, Nightcrawler could be the Dream Root counter with that, with this buff concept. This ability cannot have its chance reduced even by slow or decelerate while fighting against skilled champions. This ability is also triggered while suffering from a stun debuff. Swashbuckling mode, Nightcrawler gains plus 300 critical rating and has a chance to inflict instant bleeds on critical hits, increased to 100%. Whew! Again, that sounds so OP. I worry it's too OP, but hey, whatevs. Nightcrawler's personal effects and critical hits can be inflicted against blocking opponents. Against opponents with a cleanse effect, Nightcrawler's attacks are guaranteed critical hits. Deal a second instant bleed and remove a cleanse effect. Wow. Special attacks, Nightcrawler's special attacks 1 and 2 can switch modes. When this occurs, this mode being switched out of lingers for 5 seconds per special attack. Special attack 1 switches to Nay mode. If Nightcrawler was already in Nay mode, he gains 3 evade buffs, each increasing his chance to evade by a flat 25% for 10 seconds. One evade buff is removed whenever Nightcrawler evades, and he is a stun immune while he has these buffs on him. Whew! Pesky defender and attacker. Special 2 switches to swashbuckling mode. If Nightcrawler was already in swashbuckling mode, he instead gains a precision buff, increasing his crit rating by 700 for 15 seconds. He also has personal bleeds, have a chance based on critical rating to be critical bleeds. And then special attack 3, activate Both modes for 40 seconds. They are paused for 0.5 seconds whenever Nightcrawler lands a critical hit or when dodges or evades an attack. That is a fascinating, aggressive way to play a special 3. And then Sig ability, nay, Heritage. Whenever Nightcrawler inflicts a personal bleed or evades an attack, it gains a Fury buff. Wow. Yeah, I can see, in theory, on paper, this not working because Nightcrawler becomes like Nick Fury 2.0, depending on how you play him. With the evades and can't stun him and, you know. But I hate Root. I'm terrible at Root. Maybe I'm the only one. I was fighting Rintra today in the Thronebreaker event quest, and I just thought to myself, this sucks. I hate this. And, you know, I talk to my brother and others sometimes, and they're like, you've been playing this game for 7 years. You better be like the greatest person in the world at it. And of course I'm not. But besides that, like, if they throw in something like Root, if they invent a new mechanic, I don't care how long you've been playing it. If it's new, you can't be good at it because you haven't faced it before. So that's what makes this game kind of fun and fascinating, is that you think you've mastered it, and a new node comes along that requires you to suddenly do nothing but intercept, right? Where you're like, I've not an interceptor, or some other bizarre rotation, or especially like a boss fight, and so you think you're great at the game, and then suddenly it feels like you've never played the game in your life. So that's my rant. Thank you so much, Yak. You're the man. I look forward to seeing y'all's feedback about this buff in the comments below.